Hi, I am dating coach and TED speaker Hayley Quinn, and today I'm going to be sharing kind of a not very nice truth here that if you think there's no good guys left, this could in fact be your fault. And I'm not saying that to be a dick or mean or anything like that. I'm just a huge believer from my experience of teaching literally tens of thousands of men and women how to date, that really our dating success comes down a lot to our own personal ability to resolve things within our lives. And as much as it's satisfying after a bad breakup or a bad dating experience to go like, oh, there's no good men left, or all women are like this, it doesn't really get us anywhere and it doesn't help us out. And my goal is, of course, just to help you to really work towards meeting so many more guys. And unless you're living in the Outer Hebrides, and if you are, I'm sorry, I don't mean to insult the Outer Hebrides, there are so many men out there. There are, in fact, statistically, more single people than ever before, and more people, generally speaking, than ever before. So if you're not getting that kind of success in your dating life and you're not experiencing abundance and loads of dates and dating as being fun and enjoyable, it could come from a few different ways that you're co-contributing to making dating feel like there's nobody left. So I'm going to go through 5 core reasons, and I actually, as you're watching this video, I just want you to spend a couple of moments introspecting and thinking, actually, am I sort of like a bit guilty of any of these mindsets, and could I be stopping myself from meeting all of the men that are potentially out there? Okay, issue number 1, dismissing guys too soon. My favorite analogy for this is often if I'm speaking to a man and a woman, say they've gone on a date with one another, and for whatever reason, it was a 3.5 out of 5 kind of date, which actually a lot of first dates, particularly if you meet someone online and you don't have as yet a social connection with them, is it realistic to think that there's going to be birds singing in the trees and a really obvious sign that this person is someone you're going to continue seeing? Maybe not. And whilst I don't want to encourage anyone to settle, I also want people to think realistically in terms of if you're more mature, you've had some dating experiences, you take longer to get to know people, you're more introverted, you're a private person, any of these things can cause just building that connection with someone to take a bit longer than it did when we were like 18. And doesn't mean that the connection is less worthwhile. So anyway, a man and a woman have gone on a date. Usually the man will deconstruct the date by saying something like, it was going pretty well, but she seemed to be losing interest in the second half, and I tried to recover it, but I think I could have been more funny. Whilst women will often say something like, it was pretty okay, but I doesn't really feel the spark. So this whole thing of the spark, I think, can really hold us back sometimes, because we get hung up on this idea of having to have this special, awesome moment with someone right at the start, which I just don't think is how most good relationships are formed. It's not how most friendships develop. Think to yourself, think of a time when maybe you've met a friend and, at first you thought they were okay, and then you got to know them and then they became very much more than okay. So when it comes to dating, the first date is an opportunity to kind of have some fun, enjoy doing something together, and get to know if there is enough to continue dating. But be very careful of being like, oh, I just didn't feel the spark. Oh, it was okay, but not that great. No, I'm not too keen on seeing that person again. Because you could be eliminating kind of too early before you're allowing things to develop. You could also be overemphasizing this really romantic, I was going to say romantical, but it wasn't a word, view of dating without actually thinking about a form of dating which, okay, maybe isn't so overwhelming on the romance front, but maybe someone is showing you as being reliable, trustworthy, interested in building a connection, and actually these far more strong relationship qualities than you might see elsewhere. Problem number 2 about why you might not be meeting any good guys: have you got a bad mindset around it? And you might not feel that you have, but if you, for instance, are using a dating app and you open the app and you're like, oh, I better get on the apps again then, and you're dragging your feet and you're annoyed with it at the start, of course, the initial mindset with which you go out into a dating experience will affect how you see the outcome. Likewise, is he messaging you and you're already coming to these conclusions about him before you've even met? You're like, that was a bit abrupt, or, oh, he's being a bit chatty. Is it that you're also, because you've had some negative experiences, are you thinking that kind of everyone is going to be that way? Are you just simply too exhausted from all the other stuff that's going on in your life to really be like giving someone your best when you're going on a date with them? I know it sucks to hear about bad mindset, and my God, we are all guilty of that. But be careful if that's affecting your ability to view the guys that are out there. Point 3, about why you might not be meeting any good guys. It could be that you're too focused on the wrong kind of guys. Now, I don't like usually talking about dating in terms of good guys and wrong or bad guys, because this isn't Little Red Riding Hood. It is not a fairy tale. It is real life. And real life people are a bit more complicated than that. However, I can guarantee if you are in a bizarre dating situation, like, you know, you've been kind of seeing someone for a year, but they're not, you know, you're not in a relationship with them, or there's someone you like, but they're abroad, or someone you like and they're in another relationship with someone else, without getting any morality into that, because I don't think that's very helpful. Instead, it's about your emotional investment levels. And I find if you're hung up on an ex-partner, as I have been myself, or you're interested in someone that's unavailable, or you're really in this kind of like 50-50 thing that's giving you about 50% of your needs, you're going to be spending all of your emotional time and energy kind of, all your emotional time and energy thinking about this one person. And then because of that, I don't think you're truly open to meeting someone else. So you might need to get rid of some attachments or move on from some attachments before you can find new ones. Thing number 4 about why you might not be meeting any good guys. You might have a very fixed idea about what that guy who's coming into your life is going to look like. You might think, oh, you know, don't want to ever date anyone who works in finance ever again. My ex-boyfriend was called Steve, so never again. You might think, okay, I don't know about that, but he's kind of a bit younger or a bit older or earns less money, or, you know, oh, what? He likes to go out to clubbing still? That's lame. You might have such a rigid idea of who you should date. So instead of focusing on how someone is treating you, you're instead more concerned with, you know, how many degrees they have or how wealthy they are or something like that. And it's nice if people are smart and successful, but really what makes a great relationship is how someone treats you. So don't give extra bonus points to someone just because they're good looking or wealthy or successful. Make sure you're treating everybody equally, and how you up and down vote people is just directly related to how much time and energy and investment and emotional connection they're bringing to the table for you, because that's what's going to make you feel happy in the longer run. Final point about why you might not be meeting any good guys. Are you in fact not being very proactive? Because if there's anything I know from working with guys, there are many men who would like to say hello, but guys face a lot of fear around making the first move, particularly in a post-Me Too era, particularly in real life. Now, often, and I've saved this stick men that I drew, and I do apologise for the overly gendered stick people. That might not necessarily represent my views. It was just for clarity of demonstration and poor drawing skills. So say you're waiting on the one guy who happens to be the most confident and able to meet you in that moment. That is not a very, very good barometer for how good the following relationship will be, if there is any relationship. Because he approaches you doesn't mean that he's really seriously looking for a girlfriend or that he's a super amazing guy. It just means that he has had the social history and is in the mood in that moment to be able to say something to you, which is good on him. However, I think a lot of the time you might find yourself saying things like, oh, if he was confident, he would approach me, or it's his job to do this. And that's nice, but what that'll eventually lead to is, in fact, all of these guys that would have liked to have said hello to you don't, because they're not getting clear enough indications from you, and because you're not being proactive. And because of that, there's one guy who has the big head, the big stick person head. He's the person that actually says hello to you, which means you're struggling from what I would call as a kind of survivorship bias, where you're not seeing all the options out there. And maybe you're getting overly hung up on this guy because he's the only one that you're seeing. Now, I'm only telling you this I know it sounds like I've been like grumbling at you. It's because I really think that there's so much noise in the media at the moment around where have all the good guys gone. And it would be nice actually for you to go, there are loads of good men out there. There's loads of men out there. There's loads of guys who've got the same right intentions, similar intentions to me, good moral characters. I'm able to meet them. I'm worthy. I'm attractive enough. I'm interesting. I'm awesome. And I believe they are awesome as well. And these are the steps I'm going to take to make sure I meet them rather than being reliant on something just happening to me. And that's not coming from a space of being negative about dating. I think it's actually empowering to take personal responsibility and to think about what you could do. Anyway, I hope you found this little video interesting. If you'd like to hear more about my work, if you're a woman who's like, yes, I am down to take responsibility for this, head to www.hayleyquinn.com/real-love. I'll put the link beneath this video. You can get onto my women's newsletter. There's loads of interesting stuff on there that I don't share on this YouTube channel, plus a free guide on how you can be more proactive will be coming your way. So anyway, enjoy, and I will look forward to speaking to you soon.